Hey, Anton.
Yeah, Margaret?
You know what people don't talk about enough?
What?
The fact that because Simon is the only out one between him and Wilhelm, he's able to hide his feelings for Wilhelm better. Welcome to People Don't Talk About, Young Royals. I'm Margaret. My pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Anton. My pronouns are he, they.
And we're people here to discuss the show our friends are sick of hearing us talk about.
If that sounds like you, stick around. If your friend sent you this podcast out of a desperate attempt to get you to watch Young Royals, take this as a sign.
Go watch Young Royals, then come back to this podcast.
Margaret, what are we talking about today?
Today, we will be continuing our plot discussion of Season 1, Episode 2, focusing on the relationship between Wilhelm and Simon.
Woohoo!
I'm so glad you didn't do what you did for the last one again.
I learned my lesson.
It was good, but it caught me off guard.
In this discussion, we won't be summarizing the plot of the episode because we already did that. If you need or want a refresher, head back 1/2 episodes, based on the number, not the letter, to our most recent This Week in Halirshka for our full breakdown. This episode discussion will likely be all over the place, so strap in. You have been warned.
Okay, so we're actually going to follow our rule this time and start with the cold open.
Yeah. I mean, this is a little bit more of a general discussion. I mean,
yeah.
Depending on if we explain it last time, we really mostly just went through the plot beat by beat in the relevant scenes. And now we're on to what I call the big points of just the things that needed their own discussion.
Yeah. So in the cold open, I talked about how Simon's able to mask his feelings for Wilhelm. And I think it's because he's out and he understands what these feelings mean. And he understands what would happen, maybe not to the extent of what would happen because it's Wilhelm and what would happen if people knew, but he is aware of what these feelings are and what they mean and what that could mean for the climate that he's in at school.
Yeah. I'm thinking I want to link this with another one of my things, which is titled in my notes, Red Alert, the Prince of Sweden is in a small town soccer game.
Yeah.
Which is something we do not talk about enough.
No, we don't.
We just kind of, if you've watched the show enough times, you just kind of start accepting it, and then you're like, wait a second, that's fucking weird.
Yeah.
I think we mentioned last time, hot dogs. It's a whole thing. We've already discussed it. I've wrote it down here in case we didn't discuss it last time, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, think about the guy, if you recognize the Prince of Sweden is buying 2 hot dogs from you.
No, literally, I'd be like, you don't have to pay.
What are you doing here?
No, literally, it'd be like, what? I think I'd be caught off guard, I would forget how to do my job.
I will say a small detail. I feel like this is actually a little bit of redemption for Wilhelm for paying for realizing he has to pay for the bus in a certain way. I feel like it's almost a little bit of redemption where it's where he's like, he's learning. He's like, oh wait. I feel like he's so proud of himself when he's like, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to connect this concept of Simon hiding his feelings to is the moment where Ayub just calls Simon out.
Yes, please.
And I love it a lot, but something really thinking about this scene deeply that's always bothered me about it. Tell me if you disagree with this, but I say, if I needed any evidence that Ayub might be straight, it's that he's teasing Simon without any recognition of the maddening pressure of having a crush on someone of undetermined sexuality. Yeah.
No, I agree with that.
And I know you were the ace one of us, but as someone who has experienced that, as we've mentioned off mic, and we won't mention on mic, I have experienced the feelings for someone of undetermined sexuality, and it's a fascinating yet maddening dance, where you're I can't say anything, but also I want this to happen, but also it's just a constant spiral and loop that Ayub doesn't seem fully aware of. And I get that, like, he's just, like, probably just, like, weirded out, like, it's the prince and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, like, I get teasing your friend, but, like, at a certain point, it's like, do you get what's happening here?
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
Ayub not fully getting why Simon, like, it's cute that he is so, like, shut up, like, don't say anything, like, he's coming. But also, like, yeah, don't say anything. What the fuck? Like, it's like, that is, like, at a certain point, something I also think we don't talk about is that Simon never comes out to Villa.
Correct. Which the show is not about coming out, so that goes with the theme.
Yeah. Like, it's a show where it's like, you do that, like, doesn't, like, make its out characters come out to everyone or even imply that is a pressure necessarily, or, like, one that they feel at least. And
actually, the only time Simon ever comes out is when he's talking to his dad and he has to remind him.
Yeah. Because it's which gives me the vibe that, like, which is something that I went through for a while where I was like, my stance on coming out is that I will come out if I feel I need to correct people. Mm-hmm. Which is, I think, a valid stance. That's totally a valid stance to take on your coming out. Like, that's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I came out by accident, so.
Yeah. I actually don't know that story, so later.
I can tell it on mic. I don't care.
Okay.
So, I was I had to be in, like, middle school.
Yeah.
And my mom was cooking dinner, and I was sitting at the counter. And I was like, Mom, all my friends are one letter of the LGBT acronym. And she was like, well, which one are you? And I went, I think I'm A. And she went, what the fuck is A?
Yeah.
And I was like, asexual. She was like, I don't know what that means. And I told her, and she was like, I see it. And then a few months later, I don't even know how we got on this subject, but I was like, I think I, like, romantically like women. And she went, yeah. She was like, Margaret, I hate to break it to you. Your lock screen has been the same picture of Emma Watson for the last 7 years. And I went, oh, you're right. Fuck. You couldn't have filled me in on this?
Yeah. All this to say, like, I wanted to emphasize that and, like, deep dive into the fact that, like, I often am one to more, like, relate to Wilhelm than I am to Simon. But too. In this, I am fully Simon. Like, I get it. I get being the one who is out pretty much, and then and comfortable with yourself, and then being like, fuck this maybe straight question mark boy. Like, what the hell? Like, it's like, yeah. And, like, as I mentioned in part one, like, at a certain point, he has the right to be done. I think for his own peace, like, he has the right to say that, like, I'm just going to try to not let this affect me.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Oh, like in the studying scene where, like, we're talking about how, like, where he was just studying. Yeah. And, like, he was, like, looking down, not focusing on Willa. Like, he can tell, like you said, you can tell when someone's looking at you, and he deliberately was not looking at Willa because when he can help it, he is trying to not engage with this because he's like, this is too much. Like, he hasn't just amnesia forgotten that he's the prince. He just sometimes likes to forget because that's when it makes it easier. I think.
Yeah, I mean,
but for obvious reasons. But, like, even when he's not the prince, he's still another guy of undetermined sexuality, which in and of itself is so goddamn confusing.
Yeah. Can only imagine.
I would not wish it on anybody. And I think just, like, it's, again, if I needed a sign that IU was probably straight, like, that told it to me without saying it, because I do feel like he's either straight or, like, he also just could potentially, like, I have other reasons for not believing this is true, but, like, he could be ace. But, like, I don't believe that's true. Unfortunately.
It's okay. We got Ace Rep and Heartstopper.
Yeah.
It was good Ace Rep too.
Yeah. And so, like, the idea of Simon being the out one, but then being able to hide his feelings better just makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's some who might find it a little, like, ironic or whatever, but, like, it just makes sense that someone who knows what they're feeling would know better and be able to recognize better, like, when to not just be out there with all that shit. Like, it's...
Yeah. I mean, because if you have no idea what you're feeling, you can't be like, this could potentially have consequences that will really affect everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like, I want to spend time with this person. I like being with this person. I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I think also it's interesting for Simon being the relative, for someone who we've previously characterized as the bold one. I feel like probably because he doesn't know what's happening. Like, Wilhelm is the more reckless one in this episode.
I would say he's reckless. I wouldn't say he's bold.
Yeah, definitely. Like Simon is bold in some ways, but like, when it comes to Wilhelm, he is the cautious one.
Yeah.
For good reason. For fully valid
absolutely.
reasons. But I think this episode, as I said, like, he is such amazing self-control until he doesn't.
Big time.
And I think he has just enough reason to believe that it's not in his head.
Yeah.
Which again goes back to Simon the Bold, because like, he does not have full confirmation, nowhere near full confirmation, but he has enough to hope and go for it.
Yeah.
Which couldn't be me.
No, that sounds terrifying.
It sounds utterly terrifying. So my next big point is, let's unpack the whirlwind that is the rowboat scene.
Let's do it.
So as I said, like, I mean, I think I've covered a lot of my thoughts about majority of the scene, but I want to talk about the last two things that happen. Willa's chortle at they're just gonna become
Can we get a chortle
now.
count? Can we get a chortle count?
I love that I've taught you this word. It's so delightful.
My favorite. It's my new favorite word. It used to be crisp.
Yeah.
I like the word crisp because the sound goes from the back of your mouth to the front of your mouth as you say it.
Yeah. But I learned, I was taught that word by like my 7th grade language arts teacher or something like that. And I've remembered, I'm English major, so it's like I stored it.
It's a good
but
word.
I do that with a lot of words, as listeners are probably able to tell.
I was living large when shout out Anton's friend from the UK sent us that voice memo of him saying it with his accent. And I got the text from you that was like, check the group chat. And I was like, yes. Thank you. I needed this.
But, okay. Beyond the funniness of the word chortle, like, it is actually a serious moment that I need to discuss, and we need to be like, I mentioned last episode, like, or at least hinted, like, this is my first moment of genuine disappointment in Villa. Personally.
The rowboat?
The chortle that he gives, because he chortles at August's comment about Simon, like, being a great cock because he's small.
Yeah.
And it's like, that clearly wasn't a compliment. And I'm just like, he is it is like the only time in this episode that he fully like participates in the bullying of Simon, and it hurt me so much. It hurts me every time, and I basically kind of forget it happens until it happens, because I'm just like, I want to not think this happened, but it did.
Yeah.
Like, and I basically just felt like the pressure to conform is getting to him. Like,
yeah.
Like as I mentioned last episode, like the longer he is at Halershka and around August, and August is constantly around, like, Villa is just, it is an act of self-preservation, but it is seriously shitty.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
And what kills me even more almost is Simon's frustration that, like, punctuates the scene at the very, very end.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in a side profile. So like it's hard, it actually could potentially be easy to miss. But like to me, I feel like this is our first real glimpse that like Simon's feelings from the end of the first episode are still there. Like we've had other clues. But like all of a sudden you're like, the guy I like just bullied me. That's devastating.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, and it feels, for me, it kind of just feels like a frustration that he likes him in the first place.
Yeah. A frustration that he likes him in the first place, and potentially he's like, is this what it's gonna be like?
Yeah.
Like, because in the end of the first episode, we see Wilhelm being very vulnerable. Because he's drunk, probably partially the reason why. But while he's like singing Tick's a Fool and telling Simon about his singing, that was Wilhelm, I think, being vulnerable with Simon. And so I think then in the second episode where Wilhelm chortles and along with August's like bullying of him for his size and his ability as a rower, is that the we're gonna go with that being the term. Yep. It's like, is this what it's gonna be like? He'll have these moments of vulnerability and then he'll bully me.
Yeah. And I think again, along with like beyond Simon just like being able to hide his feelings better, I think as a person, he's way more, he, like, as you said, he's closed off at Hilershka, and it includes Wilhelm in this episode for most of it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
And I think part of that is, like, he realizes that there is something at the end of the first episode.
Yeah.
And he's like, shut it down. I'm shutting this down. This is a terrible idea.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I can't tell if he's wrong. Like, I cannot say that they are not a terrible idea.
You said something, in the first cycle of episodes. I can't remember what episode it was. But it was, I want them together for Wilhelm, but I don't want them together for Simon. It was something along those lines.
Yes, and I was kind of informed partially by knowing like what happens in this next episode.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how much I felt that when I first watched it, but I'm sitting here being like, Villa benefits so much from Simon being in his life, and I genuinely like, they do get something out of each other. Like, they wouldn't like each other this much if they didn't. Right. And like I've illuminated in our previous Revolution episode that like I think Simon likes Villa because Villa like sees him in a way that no one else at Hilershka does, and the way few people do, I think, outside his own family. And that is definitely valid, but I think Simon is practically thinking of all of the other things that go along with liking Wilhelm. Yeah.
I think we may be being a little bit harsh on Wilhelm right now.
We are. I know. I think I'm partially carrying some video essays and reactions that I've seen that do, like, we remain generally pretty neutral, and we also kind of don't really see it as a debate. There are people who at least have in the past, or sometimes still do, like, see it as you need to kind of pick a side between Villa and Simon of who is more right, which I do not think is true.
I don't think it's true either. I think they're both right based on their life experiences.
Something I like to say is that all dichotomies are false dichotomies.
Also true.
And that's how I feel. Like, it is not Simon or Villa, it is both. Yeah. What I like to joke sometimes, it's thinking bisexually.
Amen. As you should.
And so
that's your God-given right. And so, I don't believe in God. I don't know why I said it like that. I went to a Catholic college. It rubbed in.
Yeah. The idea that, like, there are definitely people who criticize Wilhelm harshly in the beginning of the show, and I want to see a merit to their points, but also I do want to push back and say, what else do you think he can realistically do?
Yeah, I would also like to push back on that because even if he went to a public school, he grew up the fucking prince.
Yeah.
That shapes you as a person.
Yeah. And it totally excuse his behavior, but it's like, still like, guys, what do you want him to do?
You
like,
kind of have to understand where he's coming from. When his entire life for, the last 16 years, and even now, like, honestly, let's be honest here, he, like, even though it is, like, debilitating to him, the pressure that being the prince comes with, it still
made him who he is as a person, and
it made him who he is as a person, but it's also, he grew up privileged.
Yeah. It informs all of his actions, and it's honestly one of the most delightful things about the show to me is recognizing the ways in which he is both very resistant to the monarchy and fully buys in.
Oh yeah, he's fully a product of it, but he fully resists it as well.
Right, and I think people see that as a criticism of the show sometimes, and I'm like, it's kind of the fucking point.
It makes the show for me, because, we had an episode where we talked all about nuance. I don't remember what episode it was. I just remember talking about nuance a lot.
It was one of the Love Among Royals.
Probably. But this is the nuance. Yeah. This is the nuance that drives me crazy because I love it so much.
Or actually, wait. I think it was one of the Art of This.
Probably.
Regardless. And so, yeah, I think it is a show that does not present you with perfect characters ever.
No. Nobody's perfect. Hannah Montana taught me that.
No, everybody has character flaws in this show.
Yeah.
Even people want to write off as perfect. Like, guys, think about it and be like, okay, no, that wasn't the greatest thing to do. And yeah, people do shitty things sometimes. And like, they're varying degrees of shitty, but oftentimes they're informed by their experiences and their perspectives on the world. Like, it's just...
No, I fully agree.
I needed to get that off my chest, but that was kind of a tangent. I think we basically said what we need to say about that. Like, it's just, it is hard. And then the first moment that, the moment that I think that Simon gives into his vulnerability is when Villa fully initiates in the at movie night.
Yes.
Because it's like, that is his sign. Mm-hmm. Like, that is the sign that Simon was waiting for to finally make his bold move.
Can we also take a minute and appreciate how bold it was for Wilhelm to do it in a room full of people?
It is.
Like, even though he got terrified when he realized that Sarah was watching, he still initiated it in a room full of people. And yeah, the lights were off. Yeah, everybody was watching the movie. But it was still a room full of people.
No, yeah. And like this, that goes back to the previous word that we were talking about, like reckless. Like, he just goes for it. And as we alluded to in the last episode, I don't think he knows what the fuck is happening. I think it is literally as much as like, I want to do this, and then he does it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's exactly what goes through his mind. There's like the jump scare, and he like subconsciously grabs for Simon's like leg or arm or something. And then he's like, oh, what if and then he puts his hand down to like...
on his knee. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. He grips his knee, which is like, it is like, again, complete opposite of the bro tap.
Yeah.
Like polar opposites. Like, that is a unambiguously flirty move.
Yeah. But I don't think he was like, I'm going to get scared and grab his knee. I think he was like, I'm scared, I grab something. And like, I'm scared, I'm grabbing Simon type of thing.
That's fair. And again, but I think it comes down to like intuition. Oh,
no, absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like, but like, I mean, we can argue all the live long day with like in circles about like whether or not this was like how conscious it was, how subconscious it was, blah, 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 blah. But like,
it means the same. Like, it means the same to me either way.
Exactly. It has the same outcome because regardless of how it started or how accidental it was initially, eventually it becomes pretty conscious in terms of like, I want to do this. And then I don't know.
I still get
I don't know how
goosebumps
much
every time.
I don't know how much we want to unpack the fact that it's Sarah that sees them, because I think that might be a Sarah character episode thing or like a Love Among Royals thing, but I think it is worthy of, like, I don't know what the significance is that it's them. I think partly is that she knows Simon the best,
Mm-hmm.
and so like she can recognize a vibe, I think, more than other people.
Yeah.
And like everyone else, like literally, by that I mean literally everyone else in the room has their heteronormative blinders on, and cannot recognize what is happening.
Oh, absolutely.
And like Sarah, like she might, like, as we discussed in her character episode, she might be concerned with fitting in, but she is a like more perceptive like cookie than most people give her credit for.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I feel like the fandom talks about it a fair amount, but like, yes. Like it is one of her best, it is one of her at least strongest traits, is like someone who notices things.
Oh yeah, she notices everything.
But like even someone who, like, again, it's weird because like Simon has not come out to Villa.
Right.
And so Villa doesn't know that Simon is out, like what the hell is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And like he doesn't even he does nothing. He knows nothing to be able to process that. Like, oh, like, does Sarah know even Simon's sexuality? Like, it's just too much. Like, I think it's just plain too much. Like, I don't think there's much thought into it. It's just like panic and leave.
Yeah, I think he just goes, fuck, and then dips.
Yeah. And I believe, I can't remember if you've discussed this on mic, but I like to argue that Villa's panic attack doesn't fully start until he sees the plaque with the school motto.
Yeah, like it's your legacy to uphold.
Yeah, like he is anxious, but he doesn't start rubbing his chest until he sees it.
That's true.
Because it's like all of a sudden it's his fears made manifest. Like it's the things that he thought that all of a sudden is like his environment is literally telling him that there is no escape.
Oh yeah, there's no escape, and
which, like, I have had some reactors who don't fully realize what's happening and think he's about to jump out the window.
Oh.
Yeah. Like,
yikes.
Like it's dark.
It is
but
dark,
like,
but that never crossed my mind while watching it.
It didn't for me either, but like there's some people like probably like reactors who react to more like horror content or whatever, or like used to something a little bit more like splashy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
God, that would have been a hell of a way to have a second episode. Jesus.
Oh God. Like, oh my God. Like, I do not know how high up that window is, but
Young
like,
Royals takes on the hospital. Anyways, I have to trigger warn this episode as well. Jesus Christ.
I know. I realized that as I said it, but I was like, it's valid to bring up. I think.
Fuck.
Because it's like, I know. I'm sorry. We got 16 episodes without having a trigger warning for suicide.
Yeah, we did. Anyways.
Okay. Sorry.
So I think beyond the, like, there's no escape, part of his, like it's your legacy that you have to uphold. Part of his legacy, yes, is the school, but it's also the royal family. And upholding that legacy means having children to continue on the royal family. Even though Eric is the one who takes the throne because Eric is crown prince, it is still Wilhelm's responsibility to be a backup plan.
Yeah, we mentioned in Privilege Punishment, maybe not as well because that episode was unhinged as fuck.
I don't know what you're talking about. That was gold.
What I was trying to say was that, like, because as Sweden currently works, the Swedish royal family always needs an heir. Like, if Eric died before he had kids, it would fall to Wilhelm's kids.
Yep.
Or Wilhelm.
Yep.
Like, it's a whole thing where it's like, you are in the royal family.
Oh, yeah.
Like, There's no, it's like, it's by the smallest of degrees that Eric is more important than him.
Yeah.
Like, he may be like Aaron the Spare. He may be the Spare, but it's like, you have spares for a reason, and you play a role as the Spare.
Oh, yeah.
That, like, he, like, can't, like, being the Spare is just, like, so much for, like, it's so much. Like, it's all, it's...
If he didn't play a role as the Spare, he wouldn't feel this debilitating pressure because of it.
Yeah. Shit, we went all over the place with that.
No, but I think that was really good.
No, yeah. I think backtracking a little bit, because I do have a little bit more before we get to the kiss scene, because that's what we were leading up to. We need to talk about Sounds a Lot Like My Life.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're going way back to the football field night.
Approaching the football pitch / soccer field. Yeah. I have been debating on whether or not to use British or American English. Because
hey, think bisexually.
Yeah. I know, that's fair.
Come on, that's your job.
Anglo-American. Sorry. That was bad.
It was really good. You better leave that in. If you take that out, I'll respect it, but I want you to leave it in.
So we talked about this a bit last time, where it was like, in what ways is this true and what ways is it not? Like, we get what he means.
Yeah.
But we also get why Simon would find it ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. I think on a base level, the statement, everybody knows who I am and everybody knows everybody and everybody knows what everybody's doing type of thing, as just a statement, is very descriptive of both of their lives. But the implications that it has on both of their lives, I think, is where Simon is like, that's ridiculous.
Yes, I think insofar as, like, if you really think about it, totally makes sense why he'd say that. But, like, Simon's brain doesn't go there, and also he has a giant, I think, living even just a month at Hilarska has left him with a giant chip on his shoulder, being like, I can relate to none of these kids. Yeah. Like, Villa is the first one he can, like, tolerate, but, like, the idea that they're similar in any way, like, at least he doesn't get angry when he says it, but, like, he just at least finds it, like, ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, he finds it amusing at the very least.
Yeah.
I do want to remember that, like, we have a royal family discussion to save these talking points for.
Yes.
Because I think part of what made Privilege Punishment so unhinged is that we kind of stole a lot of our Privilege Punishment points in earlier episodes, and then we just ran out of things to say. And felt it needed to be a certain length.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think that was our best episode so far. Although you liked purple and orange.
I do like it a lot.
I haven't listened to it since you edited it.
Yeah, Margaret hasn't listened to it yet, but...
I just remember finishing recording those and being like, that was a nightmare. I love it. We'd love to see it.
Yeah. I think I'm going to leave it. I think we should leave it there. I'm with you. What I should say. Because it's like, we've discussed it insofar as it explains their dynamic in this moment. And that's as far as we need to go.
Absolutely. I agree.
And the last thing before we get to the first kiss.
Yes.
Simon unknowingly contributed to the constant surveillance of Prince Wilhelm of Sweden just by wanting to post a story featuring the guy he likes.
Yes.
One reactor I literally watched today to prepare for this called it the first sign that Simon doesn't get it. He doesn't get what it means to be the prince.
Yes, I literally couldn't agree more.
Like, it's possible that there are other signs previously, but, like, this is definitely the first big one. It demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of what is happening in a fundamental understanding of what the royal family goes through, which, like, is valid, makes sense.
Yeah.
But also, it, like, as someone who knows, like, more often than not, like, reactors will watch that and be like, oh no, terrible idea. What are you doing? Like, because we sat through an entire 10 minutes of Wilhelm doing nothing but getting his picture taken.
Yep. And he was so uncomfortable.
And he didn't notice.
Yeah.
Because he was so, like, into the game. Like, he was being a good friend.
Yeah.
And Simon didn't know what he was doing, but I can't help but feel a little icky about it. Like he can't have known what he was doing.
Right.
But I'm just like,
yeah, you're like, wait, no, please. Yeah.
Don't. Yeah, it's like one of the first moments, like, I'm panicking in the episode. Like, it's like most of it is cute up to that point, especially like right before that point. But you're like, oh no.
Even like when I rewatch it now, I'm like, oh, this is cute. He's posting a picture or like the video of him and the person he likes hanging, like him and Will are hanging out. And then I'm like, fuck, wait, no, Will is the prince and he hates being the center of attention.
I mean, and there's some people who literally just like maybe don't go totally that far, or they're like, guys, he snuck out. Like August is gonna find out. Like that. Like at the very least.
Yeah.
Like that. I have harder time forgiving Simon for. Not like forgive, but like he told you August would be mad, and I get that Simon doesn't care, but Wilhelm does, and that's again shows that they're both fully in their own perspective, and I have not seen each other's side.
And to be fair, they met how long ago? Like, when would they have had the time?
Maybe a week, maybe 2.
Yeah, when would they have had the time?
Right. Which actually is a later point I have after the kiss. And I don't know. I don't have much more to say beyond that, I think. I think it's just I wanted to recognize that Simon does this unknowingly, but, like, it has huge ramifications. Like, it involves August unnecessarily and disastrously because it just completely puts a sour note on their amazing kind of first date situation where it's like where Simon is so happy. He's so happy. Like
he's a giggling mess when he gets home. He's deliriously happy.
A reactor I will mention later, my favorite one, Margaret knows. I was rewatching her, and she's like, "Oh, you got it bad." No,
because he does. He's got it bad.
He does.
Like when he gets home and Sarah's like, "You missed dinner," and he's a giggling, smiling, blushing mess.
Yeah, and you don't get that until that scene, and you're like, "Oh no."
Yeah.
Oh no, because it's like he's been doing a good job of hiding it even from us about how serious that party last night was. Like you could fully believe like, oh, he may be just like a flirty person, even with someone who he doesn't know their sexuality. And then like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, he's down bad, as you could say.
Yes. Like it's just, and Sarah can tell again, like that's like the thing that's definitely the scene that contributes to that final scene where she's like, I've already kind of sussed this out. Like you said, we could never be friends with any of them. Yeah. And he's like, well, maybe there's an exception. And she's like, this is Simon we're talking about. There is never an exception. I think that's what she's thinking.
Yeah.
Of.
And also he's making an exception for the person who on paper should be the most privileged asshole of them all.
I know.
He's not. Wilhelm is not. But on paper, he should be.
It's like and it's like that. I mean, that's the thing that Simon was so surprised by, and I think the thing that intrigues Simon partly about it. Like, he likes to forget that Wilhelm's the prince a lot, I think, but also that has to be part of what's like, what is happening with this person? Yeah. That they are the prince of Sweden, and they are a nice person? Yeah. Could never imagine. But also, I will say, a little nugget for a future privileged punishment episode. Sarah's little mic drop. I thought the point of the royal family was that they never change.
Takes my breath away every time.
Because I forgot that Simon. I always kind of forget that before that it's like, well, sometimes people can change. Yeah. And it's like, oh god, oh buddy. Like Simon, my guy. Are you the same person?
No, yeah, literally.
Like, it's so adorable and so terrifying to me. Because I'm just like, we had a firm establishment of your character last episode. You are a stubborn, affectionately, you're a stubborn bitch and I love you. Like, and all of a sudden he's like, maybe some people can change.
Yeah.
Which, like, I think also says, also on top of that, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but, like, with his trauma, like, saying that people can change. Like,
Okay, well, I will counter you
I
on
don't
this
know.
because he does
okay, got
keep
it.
going back to Mecca
Valid.
with the
No,
hope
you're right.
that he
You're right.
can
You're right.
change.
I'll take that back. You're right. You're right. Take that back. Take that back immediately. And yeah. We don't need to talk. We don't need to bring this down.
No. We're having
Bring
a
us
good
down.
time.
We're
Let's
talking
not
about
talk about the alcoholic dad.
Yeah, it's God. I don't know. It's just he's hopeful.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what else to say other than like this show is so good and it's plotted in such a way that just makes me nervous. And I know how I know what happens. Like it's so.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Yeah. Alrighty.
The kiss.
As I wrote in my notes, I want to dissect this first kiss like it's my damn job, which it sort of is. So buckle up. I'm just not getting paid.
Amen. I'm not getting paid for my actual job, so
PDTA as an unpaid internship.
I'm already in one. Don't call me out.
Sorry.
It's fine.
So do I have it up still? I probably don't. I do. Thank God. I have This Week in Hilarious still up. Because I might need a bit of a refresher because I was just so happy with this. Okay. We pretty much discussed the panic attack. But then you get Simon like coming down the hall. Like we flip perspective and you're like, oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit. Oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
And like Villa just says hi.
He says it so
But, like,
nonchalant. Like he's not
and like
panicking.
I know. And it's like he turns to he turns away from the window that he's been breathing the fresh air out of to breathe to look at Simon fully.
Yeah.
And then Simon asks if Villa is okay. Villa says he is. And like he was like, oh, it was just getting hot in there. Like
Right, of course it was, babe.
and now my toe like he's like, and I just need some fresh air. And he's like, now my toes are cramping up. Which I think implies that like now he's cold, which is hilarious.
Yeah. That always cracks me up
From
because
what
like,
I-
this
from the
is so
little- from the-
random, dude.
I know, but from the little I know, I feel like that's like just living the Sweden life.
Probably.
Like being hot indoors, then deciding to open a window and be like, no, it's freezing.
I mean,
Listeners, write in.
that's the Wisconsin life.
Yeah, it is fair. Like, I mean, there is a reason why a lot of Swedish and German people immigrated to Wisconsin.
Yeah, same climate.
Same climate. Fun fact. Oh wait, I didn't even know if we ever mentioned what state we live in.
Wisconsin for the next 2 weeks, and then I'll be in Connecticut.
And I'm in Wisconsin for a while still.
We're going to be in different time zones.
That'll probably still be
Yeah,
okay.
it'll be fine.
It's like 1 hour. If I can make 6 hours work with my former British roommate.
That's true. Icon.
And so like they like softly laugh at the whole good toast coming up thing because it's like ha ha ha, and someone's like, oh, this is totally a lie, but I'm like, I'm gonna pretend that you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
And then he's like, and then Villa's like, are you okay, Simon? And Simon's like, I'm fine.
I'm chilling, no big deal.
We totally didn't like almost hold hands. Like,
Don't
less
say
than
almost,
30
they
seconds ago.
did. For like a second.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like pinkies. Shout out to pinkies. It's also that along with the bro tap, that's also a queer thing in media since the first queer show I ever saw.
Yeah, you gotta link pinkies.
Shout out to Jude and Connor on the Fosters. I have like first
you do this to me?
the Fosters reference on this television program. That's not true. Wait.
Television
It is
program.
true, but
This
it's
is a
like, I know. That's what I was confused for a second. Listeners, this is the same day. This is the same day as the previous one, so I am still very tired. But
Same day, just post Margaret's therapy appointment.
Yeah, so like I don't know if we have any overlap whatsoever, but I will say they have similar energies, and this is why Margaret and I love them both.
We do love them
much.
both. And you know what's really funny to me is we watched them both before we met each other. And we only started talking about this because one day at lunch, you mentioned that Swedish Pop was in your Spotify Wrapped. And I went, Omar?
I thought I was mentioning reaction videos. I feel like I was...
I know. I think you were talking about Spotify Wrapped being like, Swedish Pop is in my Spotify Wrapped because of one TV show. And I was like, Morales, is it Omar?
Oh my god!
Because I was like,
you're right. I completely was misremembering that. Oh yeah, fun fact for listeners: we've actually known each other for less than a year. Like we haven't had any sort of Q&A for that about that yet. But yeah,
another fun fact that I don't even think I've talked to Anton about before, but we're gonna say it for the first time on mic. I knew of Anton since like our freshman year of college because we had.
I think we have mentioned this to me
like
before, but yeah.
Adjacent friend groups. Via one person.
Like it is hilarious that we didn't become friends before senior year.
And you know what? The adjacent friend group we had by like one person, I came to see her sing, and I saw you as well. And I was like, "There's no way this kid is whatever grade we were in. He's got to be a senior. They're way too talented."
Aww. So yeah, that was a little tangent, but that was a fun little tangent. So like it was asking if he's okay, and it's like I'm fine. I'm gonna pretend that we're not that we. I'm gonna pretend we weren't almost holding hands. And they're like they are holding hands, and then yes, pinkies. Eugene Connor. I have no idea if that reference will hit with anybody, especially considering that less than half of our audience like lives in the U.S.
And also that show aired about 10 years ago.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's on Hulu in other places.
No, but it's a banger. So if it is, you should check it out.
Besides the U.S. Yeah. Anyways, my God, I can't believe how much I've put my creative writing. I kind of hate this meme, but I also just want to say it. I hate how much I've put my creative writing into this. How do I become so unhinged on these episodes? I am not like this in real life, you guys. I think it's just like that thing where it's like you just become a different version of yourself when you're like so being recorded.
Hilarious. Oh my god.
I think oftentimes I recognize that often too. I think I do that thing where I usually self-consciously use slang that I've picked up because like again I pick up language, as I mentioned in previous episodes, like I pick up language pretty fast. And so like I mean, there was a while that I would like be so out of the loop with like new slang, especially like in middle school when I was like we were like 11 through 13. Like I'd be like a month behind, and like middle school like things go like memes happen so fast. And so like I would like by the time I learned what it meant, I would use it slightly wrong or just use it at all, and people would look at me, laugh, and say, "Anton, never say that again." Like it's like it's. They're like the knowing me as a person just like immediately like ruins the fact that I've just used a meme because it's like what is that coming out of your mouth? Like it makes no sense.
No, that was just fucking hilarious, and I wasn't expecting it.
I know. The thing is, I have a different college persona than people who knew me all the way through kindergarten through senior year, slightly. Like, or at least like I got to start a little fresh, where it's like I could be like, I'm a person who does occasionally reference.
I do memes. Dabble.
So like, it's like a thing. I dabble, but only the queer ones.
Well, they're the only good ones. Then raccoon memes. I love raccoon memes. Yeah. But fun fact, raccoons give me panic attacks.
I do have a little. Oh. I was going to say a quick little disclaimer that I do want to recognize that a lot of queer slang comes from people of color, specifically Black people, especially like U.S. slang, and even also like U.S. slang stuff in globally come like I do want to recognize that pipeline, and like I call it queer slang, but it's like I do want to recognize its origins,
yes,
and not just claim it like an ignorant white person. Anyways, but as I was saying, I was like, The silence settles between them, both tense and intimate, and they're both breathing
I
heavily.
like that your voice changed here. That was really good. Made it more
You're welcome.
dramatic.
Yeah. And so like Simon looks up to stare straight at Willa, and then we have those two close-up shots of their faces. And it's like, as I said last episode, like, Willa, do you see any non-verbal sign of consent? The fact that they held hands is the thing that saves it for me. Like, it's not totally out of nowhere.
I was gonna say they held hands, and Wilhelm did initiate that part, but
yeah,
after that, I don't think so. I'm pulling up Netflix right now.
Okay. But like, I mean, I was one who summarized this scene, so you weren't watching it as closely as I was. I did not see anything.
I'm just trying to give Simon credit where credit's due, so I'm gonna pull up Netflix.
Valid. I'm feeling the silence for editing Anton, who usually cuts all.
Yeah,
this.
sorry, Anton.
You're good. He just gets confused sometimes when we just stop talking. Like even when you say what you're doing, it's just like he's like, did the audio cut out? Like, oh no! Like,
he looks at Simon's lips, but I don't know that that's necessarily nonverbal consent, because consent has to be verbal.
And I think in the way that it's shot, like I've never been able to tell that it's his lips. Like, I think it's like looking down, like a little embarrassed, but it's like you could literally just be uncomfortable because someone is staring at you like they want to kiss you.
That's true.
And so I say this not to just like feel like I don't want people to feel like I'm dragging Simon. Like I'm definitely a person who does firmly believe you should ask for consent before initiating any sort of romantic or sexual contact, especially the first time. But as I said last time, like, on the other hand, Villa would not have done it himself, and like I don't know where it would be if Simon asked.
Yeah.
Which I hate that argument on principle.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
More often than not, that like oh, it would ruin the moment, and like it would change the moment, yes, but also it would have triggered Wilhelm's anxiety way less. And I don't know. It is just a slight, again, it's a slight point that like is like Simon's not perfect. Like he is bold. He acted on his feelings. Like there's so much in culture that tells us that is a completely acceptable thing to do, even though I personally don't think it is.
Yeah.
And I don't want to apologize for people who think I'm like a buzzkill or something like that. It's just consent is very important to me.
Amen.
And like, so he kisses him. I don't know why I paused for that. I was like, what happened next? Oh yeah, the first kiss. And like partially in Simon's defense, it is like a quick peck. It's not like he's just like straight up. This is no Ben from Heartstopper. Like it's not
correct.
Like this is not keep going. Like this is quick test. Like pull back, being like, okay,
let's suss out the situation.
Like, yeah, suss out. Like, is this okay? Like it's like that was a check for consent. Like that was that. Like I would have like not a verbal one, and I would have liked it before you actually kissed him. But he's not utterly wrong to do that. Like that is a in the spectrum of the consent debate, that is one position that is like is acceptable. It's like you at least still, I mean, it doesn't necessarily abide by the like ask before you do anything rule, but it does ask by continuously check for consent. Where you don't just keep going regardless of how the other person is feeling, like you check in.
Yeah.
And Wilhelm just stares. Yeah. It's just it's so heartbreaking, and also one of the funniest looks he makes the entire show. Because it's just like brain broken.
Oh yeah.
Like brain utterly broken.
100%.
You've blown his mind, and he will never be the same. Literally.
No, genuinely. From this point on, he is never going to be the same.
Which we never find out if that is his first kiss or not.
No, we don't.
And I kind of like to believe that it is, selfishly.
I do too, and they're only 16, so it's not out of the question of it being his first kiss.
Oh, it definitely isn't, especially considering he's in the public eye, so it's like, it's not like he's gonna be just having relationships willy-nilly.
Right.
not like he wants them necessarily. Like, but it's like what the hell is going, like, who even knows what's going on with him? Like, it's
we never find out.
But I think he's just like, he is just stunned, and like,
he's like a deer in headlights.
He is, but like, he is a deer. I think something that I noticed, and like, I think the exactness of this is debatable, but the way I perceived it, Simon is looking down, like, embarrassed after he kisses him. And then as Simon looks up, and like, as Villa is able to see the look on Simon's face of like probably being like terrified of what he just did, there's an emotion that wells up behind Villa's eyes that I feel like I've never fully clocked onto before. And I described it as yearning in this Wilhelm. Like, he wants to kiss again, and like, he gets, like, I fully believe Simon gets consent for the second kiss. Like, entirely nonverbal, but like, it's there.
I agree. I just pulled up Netflix again. I don't know if you could tell from me looking completely off camera.
I figured, yeah.
But if I keep letting the scene go, I'll get distracted, so I'm going to close my computer again.
No, yeah. So like, I mean, and like, I described it. I use one of my favorite phrases, which is the ghost of a smile.
That sounds so romantic.
Passes Simon's lips, like pass across Simon's face, and then he goes back in, and like he in that sense, like, Simon initiates the second kiss, but like, at least in his eyes, Villa has confessed that he liked the first one. But then, of course, this is one that gets cut off by like a yelp in the background. And it like, I described it as startling Villa into breaking away, and I described it as the spell seeming to be broken. Yeah.
Because then he gets very like in his head again.
Yes, but even Simon does at that point. Like, Simon suddenly realizes what he's doing, and he's like, "Oh no, shit. Yeah. Like, this is a bad idea, bad idea." Because also, like, Villa put, like, I feel like it's pretty clear. Like, it's shot in such a way that I can't exactly tell, but I'm pretty sure Villa is the one who pulls away when there's a loud noise. Like, understandably, he is jumpy. Yeah. Like, he is like seriously like, what the fuck? Noise. Like, which, like, it's a pretty loud noise. Like, I think that could really just be it. But it's like, also, like, it does make Simon immediately like start questioning things, especially as suddenly, like, Villa clears his throat and faces the reality of what is happening. And as I'm starting to like basically just repeat what I wrote in this week of Lershka, but I just need to go beat by beat. Like, it's like, he's like, Simon's like, he tells Simon, like, I'm not, and never finishes his sentence in the entire rest of the episode. Yeah. Like, I think it's pretty clear what he's saying, but like, there's some reactors who are like, there's ambiguity there. I
think he's getting at that he's not gay, but he can't finish that statement. Yeah. Oh
no, he can't, because it'd be a lie.
Or like queer of some nature. He's unlabeled.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm not. Yeah, I am not directly labeling him as gay.
We are not assigning him a sexuality.
No. Yes, that is not our
Here,
job.
people don't talk about we stand unlabeled Wilhelm.
Yes, it is nobody's job to label anybody. And like, I don't know. I described Simon as utterly mortified. Is that?
I think so. I think he gets very self-conscious.
Oh yeah, like he's like, oh no, okay, ditching right now. I'm leaving. And then I'm gonna pronounce it wrong. Anta? I don't know. Like, wait, just like Wilhelm tells him to wait. And it's like, this is the part that I really wanted to focus in on, but we like needed all the other build up to get there. Like, he grabs Simon's wrist, and then he like pulls his hands away. He's like, "What? Okay, what did I do? What did I do?" Like, that's again more non-straight touching. And then like he keeps going on his spiral, being like, I'm not, and it's like, I described it as Wilhelm breaking out of his own head. And this dance is peak cinema.
Oh yeah, me too.
We're gonna talk about it for so long in Art of the Frame.
Oh my god. Yeah. And Art of the Choice. We'll talk about both of them.
Oh yeah. And it's like, step by step, like, he reaches for Simon's overshirt or jacket, however you want to phrase it. The prince, I'm reading directly off the thing. That's why I sounded a bit forward for a second. Like, Villa, like, he pulls Simon towards him, but he stops halfway. Like, he can't fully do the like shut up, stop talking move. Which, shout out to anyone who knows what movie I'm referencing. It's kind of it's obvious to anyone who's watched it recently because it came out recently. But he has no room in his brain to just like go for it.
Yeah.
Like, he can't get there. He cannot get there, and I respect it. And then Simon doesn't know what to do, and he's like, he edges closer. But then he leaves it up to Villa to initiate. Again, the thing I've said over and over again, now for the third time, Villa initiates their first mutual kiss.
Yeah.
Like, fully mutual kiss. And it's just like that little, like, one person goes a millimeter, the other one goes another millimeter. It's just like, it's like you take two magnets of the same polarity, and you're just like, I don't get it, and then come together.
Yeah. You know, I really appreciated that science rough. It was really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of reminded me of PChem though, and I didn't appreciate that, but the principle was there.
Apologies.
My favorite movie is Oppenheimer. That was all PChem.
Yeah. I will say one detail is that the way that Simon waits for Villa is that he touches his forehead with his.
Yeah, it's like a reassuring, like, this is fine, but take your time.
He's like, I am here if you want to do this, but I've already kissed you once, possibly, like, pretty much entirely, like, without any sign that you wanted it, and once with non-verbally. Like, I need you to initiate this one, like, to fully know that I'm not crazy and know that this is what I think it is, and you want to, and like you're not just messing with me. I just need, like, he needs the reassurance.
Oh yeah.
And also he's being respectful. Like, it's perfect. And then of course there's the cut to credits with the utterly rude ending before they even break away.
So rude.
Like, which goes to my next point, which is that in watching Gay Watch, aka Brittany, on YouTube,
icon.
I only showed Margaret a few of her clips, but just utterly amazing. I wish her reactions were longer, but I get it, and it's just so it's just condensed joy at that point. Like, I haven't watched her reaction to season one episode 2 in a while, and I completely forgot that she called this. She complained. She's like, "Is every episode going to end with a big queer cliffhanger?"
Because the first two certainly do.
Exactly. Which, I don't know. I just wanted to shout that out. Like, it's just so fun.
It's so fun and it's so true.
And the last thing she said after that, and just kind of processing what she's just seen, is something that I was like, I vaguely alluded to, I think, last episode, where she basically says that like she is someone who watches a lot of media, and so I trust her a lot when she says things with authority like this. She's like, Simon and Wilhelm are different from a lot of like not couples, but like ships, I guess, in shows, in the sense that in the 2 episodes before they kiss, there's like a fairly strong absence of like getting to know you scenes.
Yeah.
Like if you think of a lot of other romances, like especially queer romances, like a lot of them like are depicted as like starting like kind of like friendly with like really like long talks.
Yeah.
Of getting to know you.
The idea that all queer relationships come from friendships.
Yeah, or that all queer relationships must start slow.
Yeah.
And like representation, but also like I'm not saying that Wilhelm and Simon wouldn't currently benefit from a few getting to know you moments.
Yeah.
We've like this entire episode, the biggest way we've bashed this ship is the way that we're like they don't understand each other.
Yeah. Which isn't bashing. It's only been like 2 weeks since Wilhelm came to school.
Yeah, exactly. Like it makes sense, but it's also just like that's gonna be a thing you need to cover.
Yeah, it is.
Boys.
Boys.
And like Brittany describes the visual progression of romance in the sense that there's like an emphasis on nonverbal communication.
Yeah.
In the progression of their like it's a lot of like looks and like just like little facial expressions that all just comes down to acting.
Yeah.
Which is like it's a thing where it's like this can only be told in a visual medium. Like it's using film language.
Yeah. This would not have done well as a book.
Couldn't be expressed otherwise. Oh no. Oh God, I love books so much.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong.
I would hate Young Royal as a book. I will not hate it, but like the story would be great, but like it wouldn't read well.
No, it would not read well.
It would come like end of episode 2 would have come out of nowhere. Yeah. Because if you're limited by unless you're like doing like a omniscient perspective, which means like you're in everyone's head at once, like
which gets so confusing. I can't do it.
It does. It gets really hard. The only person I've currently read who does it well, which, like, granted, there are probably others who do it well, but someone who is actually well known for doing it really well is Jane Austen.
Yeah, she does a lot of things well, though.
Right. I mean, literally, she's a classic author for a reason. But like she like in her books, like they're all third person from like a narrator who basically you have to presume knows everything or at least pretends like they do. Like can get in any character's head that they want to, and can tell you basically anything about this world. And so, but yeah, basically we're absent of that, which like can be done well, hard to do. And like without that, like without being able to see and like just interpret for ourselves what's happening, like it's like what is like what is. But Brittany basically says that like she argues that this lends to the feel of realism of the show.
Mm-hmm.
This visual progression of romance, of like, yeah, like not all relationships are based on dialogue that can be written on a page.
Right.
And especially, I would argue, queer relationships, where you literally are coming up against repression.
Yeah. Queer relationships, particularly where one or more people do not know their sexuality.
Yeah. Like, I don't know how fully I've talked about this, but like my area of study, like or planned area of study, like my area of interest within my English major was if you haven't already tell by the way I just named out Jane Austen, it's 1800s British literature. And if you want to talk about a repressive time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. When you talk about queer issues within 1800s literature, you're like, like, how do you do that? And a lot of the way you do that is by looking at the silences and the subtext, like, which is like, at some point, like, I know a lot of us in the modern day have gotten exhausted of that in like modern media. They're like, why aren't you making it explicit? But like in a time when it was illegal either by death or by imprisonment in the latter half of the century, like
it had to be.
Yeah, it had to be. And it is just like, and even down to like the mid century, like 1900s, you have cases where in queer bars, it would often just be a case of your consent was basically a nod across the room.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you would leave to go have sex in the bathrooms. Like it is, and like that still happens to this day. Like I know that's still a part, especially of like gay male culture specifically. Yeah. Like the idea of a queer love story, not really focusing much on dialogue, like or at least verbal dialogue, and just being like, these two people just like each other, and why can't they have that? Like it doesn't need, like, even like they like each other they like each other a lot, but also it doesn't need to be a romance that will end the world.
Yeah.
Like with its power for it to be a valid romance.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that really underlines like it wouldn't matter if Wilhelm wasn't Prince. Like it would kind of be a nothing burger. Like it would just kind of be, I wouldn't, like, not totally nothing. Like homophobia still exists elsewhere,
right?
But it's just like, can you think of how less of a big deal it would be?
Oh yeah, if you didn't have the pressure of the monarchy.
Yeah. And it's like, even if Wilhelm was like a noble at this, like a son of noblemen at the school and stuff like that, like it would still be like, class is a huge factor in this. That as long as class is tied with homophobia, which it, in my opinion, basically always will be. Like it is essentially, we're essentially always going to be a lose-lose regardless. But like it's emphasized by the fact that he is the top. He's like the top most. He's the richest person in school. Like he has to be.
Yeah.
Do you have anything more to say about Wilhelm and Simon, or if we actually exhausted at this time? These are always really fun episodes to do because like we haven't discussed the show at all, the episode at all yet. And so it's the freshest in our minds and stuff like that. But
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, I'm proud of us.
I am also proud of us. This was really good.
Yeah. These are always probably going to be my favorite episodes. I think I've mentioned that already in this exact episode, but I just have to say it again.
Yeah, no, they're mine as well.
Like it's like, I love so many aspects of the show, but this is why I watch it. Like,
oh, duh.
it's why it's first. It's why it's our first discussion. Like we had a brief discussion of like, oh, should we do like the art of the choice, art of the frame first? Like go detail by detail. And like, no, we can't. We can't stop ourselves. No. Like we have to make sure Revolution always follows the Speak Halishka.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Should I take us out?
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. If you'd like to keep up to date with when we release new episodes and other pod-related announcements, you can check our Instagram at People Don't Talk About. Our next episode will be Art of the Choice, where we'll be discussing the acting choices of Season 1, Episode 2. So stay tuned. And with that, all that's left to say is, let's start a revolution,
baby.